The boys were called edgy, told they'd never make it past 5 episodes. Well, here those podcast jerks are, back for season 2. The Boys in the Woods podcast. The show your mother warned you about, and that your dad was hiding in the basement listening to. Get ready for the Boys in the Woods podcast.
Welcome back, Charles. I keep getting this like toothpick thing. I keep touching it. This
Yeah.
toothpick just over here all the time now.
Yeah, I'm well done. Use mine.
It's
blamma.
I don't give a piss about nothing but the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it's so funny about that story too, right? So after the Michigan Alabama game and the video from the locker room came out, I was like, what the hell's going on? And then the next day is when I started to see the original video, and I was like, oh damn, that's funny as shit.
Of course, they cut it off. The real video had guys walking around like with their phone, like going, "Yeah." They
No,
were.
I'm saying I had no idea about the Bama Blitz video. I didn't even know it existed. I thought that was just some new Troll Tide thing.
Most of that stuff came from earlier in the season, not when they played Michigan. Yeah, because he was barefoot. He ain't barefoot when it's 45 degrees in Alabama this time of year. Guarantee. Yeah, you got to ask him about. I doubt it though. He's got to wear shoes.
There's people around here that you know.
I know, but the pavement gets so hot down there. It's not here.
Yeah.
It's hot it's 120 every day.
Something I remember from a childhood vacation. We were in Ohio. Down south-ish.
South-ish.
We were in Ohio, but this was like my first time leaving Michigan really as a kid. And we were headed to Paramount Kings Island, and we ended up at a hotel. And there's a few things I remember about the hotel. I was young. I remember the cigarette vending machines. I thought that blew my mind. I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, just anybody can put the quarters in and get a cigarette. I said, that's
they
crazy.
Must have had them before Barney's did then, hey?
Yeah. Because I was at Barney's. I was at Barney's a few years later playing pool. So it wasn't.
Yeah, you had the bar experience, and I had the penny candy cigarettes liquor store. Yeah. When I was a little older, so I got the original.
I remember that. I remember that store. I used to go down there every weekend until he got. It wasn't long. I didn't get to enjoy it long. We ended up getting busted for selling smokes and alcohol underage. And
oh yeah, he would just it was like old times, like back in the 40s. He was just letting kids pick them up for their parents. Here's $5. Grandma wants a pack of smokes and a tutor. She wants a little snooty little.
Yeah, it was a bomb-ass store. I remember walking out of there with them candy cigarettes. I was such a boss, bro. Yeah, I love candy cigarettes. Shit. Yeah, I loved it when you got because not everyone came with the actual red paint at the bottom of it, at least not in the UP.
Oh, yeah.
And but every once in a while you get that cherry one, right? And you're just like, hell yeah, look at me, motherfuckers.
You slowly suck on it and it just keeps breaking off in your mouth.
Oh man, where was I going with that though? Oh, so anywho, yeah, so the heat down south, back to the pavement thing without shoes, definitely. I remember it rained for 12 seconds when we were at the hotel. And then after it rained, we went out and there was so much steam coming from the road, bro. It was wild, man. Growing up in the UP is something. Is something. And then getting on a plane for the first time. Damn.
We're not. Some people aren't ready for it. You can tell those people that have never been on a plane just when they're in the airport because their foot is just going like this. Or the people that just don't like flying, period. Yeah. But yet they get on a plane. So
I enjoy flying.
I don't mind it.
To be honest, most of my flights though came while I was in uniform, so I always got bomb service and ballin' status, bro. I can't tell you how many times I went from like where I was at to at least like business economy or some shit like that. Like I was always balling first class. I got to stay in these crazy locations in the mall, right? Where you go if you get first class tickets. And I would take a nap. And someone would come wake me up about 20 minutes before the flight. I swear to God, dude, someone would just be like, As long as you checked in, it was like, yo, I'm gonna take a nap. This is where my flight is. Someone come wake you up. You got free drinks in there. What is this? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna fly more often. So I always had a bomb ass time. We were in a 3-decker plane headed overseas the first time.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget an NCO of mine. It was actually one of the coolest things he ever did for me, to be honest with you. Great guy, yada, yada, yada. But I remember him telling me, hey, you want to be on baggage detail, man? I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to be throwing all these fucking bags on the plane, man. There's 465 ones, dude.
Right.
Man. You're suckering me into this shit. I'm not going to be fucked because of it. And he's, no, dude, trust me. We'll get to sit in first class. I'm like, what? All right.
I'll try it one time.
Oh, I'm talking. We're in like a 2-story plane, and first class is one more story up, right? So we're crossing the sea, and I'm in this first class, just lounge. The pilots come out, they open up. Allegedly, maybe I was just dreaming about this because I'm not sure if they could or could not get in trouble. So we're just gonna rock this out that I had the craziest dream while I was in this plane.
Right.
That the pilots were like, yo, all y'all are great people and you're doing great things for our country and you did all this shit. So why don't you come check out what this cockpit looks like? And we're like, what? We remember cheesing, bro. And I'm like, there's fucking 98,000 buttons inside this cockpit. They're like, yeah, really, it's just, and then you just sit back. Y'all do way more work than us.
That's crazy that even like back then it was like
nuts, man. Yeah, dude, it was straight up. Even there was a couple more clickety clacks and a couple more pippity paps, but
sure.
For the most part, there was like 12 buttons, right?
Yeah.
It's just computers do everything, man. I was like, this is fucking chill, man.
I just have to learn how to program it and learn how to read it. That's all.
Oh, you bring that up. So Pal World came out and playing the shit out of that.
Yeah.
It's basically Pokemon on steroids, more or less, but it's Arc, and instead of dinosaurs, it's Pokemon. So basically a survival game. So I got a server so everybody could be playing, yada, yada, yada. Man, yeah, and I had to dig into code. I had to teach myself code this morning. So I'm a basic code-esque test. I get it now. I understand. I was digging through it a little bit.
I went to school for it, and I don't remember it in college.
Man, it's just a bunch of words, random numbers.
It's not quite the same as it was when we were in school back in 2000.
I remember CAD and whatnot. That was fun.
Yeah, I'll have CAD, yeah. Like cell draw and all that weird stuff. So is there anything that you wanted to get into right away, or did you have topics? You got some topics here?
I got a few things to chit chat about. So earlier yesterday, or maybe the day before, who knows? I started thinking to myself, what the hell was life like before all of these first world things we have? So one of the first things, and while I was thinking about it, I was clipping me fingernails.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I wonder when the fingernail was invented. Right? So the modern fingernail clipper is a relatively recent invention. I'm like, what? That's going to get nuts. With patents from fingernail trimmers appearing around 1875.
That's crazy.
Now, before that, right, like the very first like modernized basic fingernail clipper, which was just basically a pair of fancy scissors, was 1770.
So we're talking 250 years ago.
Okay, so now the very first fingernails that we know of, fingernail trimmers, was around 8th century BC, Asia. And travelers traded, brought it back to Europe, and then the fancy bitches in Europe, they were all wearing it or utilizing it. But it was basically just like a fancy pair of scissors.
Yeah.
So now, before 8th century BC, this is really cool too. So It's interesting to note that before the invention of the fingernail clippers, people used to trim their nails using a variety of tools such as knives, scissors, and even their teeth. Oh my God, that's so voodoo. Everybody chooses
That's why we had diseases back then.
No.
Get it
Well,
out from the toenails out.
the best part was around like 1889,
Yeah.
there was a mass superstition that more or less plagued the first world, that if you cut your fingernails on the weekend, you were bringing bad luck the coming week. So nobody cut their nails on the weekend.
I'm assuming there's a lot of people that didn't do a lot of things back then on the weekend. It's our time to rest. We don't bathe on Wednesdays through Sundays.
So I went from the fingernail to the toothbrush. Right?
Yeah.
The toothbrush has a long and interesting history with evidence of people cleaning their teeth back to ancient Egypt.
Yeah,
So
sometime
you
no.
were brushing your teeth, but ain't nobody be clipping their fingernails. And you didn't think about it, right? Like at one point, when were you just like, fuck? And you just walk around all them people in the Guinness Book of World Records that we used to look at in the library as a kid.
The guys from India and stuff that are like, my fingernails are too long, and then they're poking themselves in the fucking eyeballs. Why did I sound like Irish there? So you got the Irish guy. You had the
came off super 7-Eleven-ish at one
yeah,
point.
and I just tried to sound like I was from India with the big long nails, and I sounded more like I was Irish.
We do that a lot. That's what being an American is.
We fuck dialect.
That's what being American is.
Yeah.
The first mass-produced toothbrush was made by William Addis of Clerkenwell, England, around 1780.
Damn.
The first American to patent a toothbrush was H.N. Wadsworth on November 7th, 1857. It's fascinating to note that the Chinese began fashioning prototype toothbrushes by attaching coarse animal hairs to bamboo or ivory handles about 800 years ago.
That's fucked.
During the Middle Ages, travelers brought these devices to Europe. So it looks at it. So basically, around the first handful of monarchies, right? Like they were like, we need to get everything we can from Asia and just bring it here and make it our own.
Sure. Yeah. They had this plan in place where they were like, we need to change society.
Do you think if people knew the size of England itself, we know the size of it today, do you think England would have ruled as much of planet Earth as it has at one point in time?
Probably
not. Or do you think somebody like Australia would have been like, yo, turns out there ain't no way.
No.
So the toothbrush has come a long way since its early days. In 1938, the DuPont company developed the first toothbrush with nylon fibers, which provided sturdier and more efficient than animal hairs. Today, toothbrushes come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors, with some even having built-in timers to help ensure that you brush for the recommended 2 minutes. I use one of those.
One of those? Like the time toothbrush. Okay. I thought you were talking about time to remind you to fucking brush your teeth.
No.
I was going to say people lost this a long time ago, I think.
So now this is the one that really started to confuse me.
Yeah.
Who invented clothes? Right? This isn't something you think about every day. I've never thought about this in my entire life.
I thought since the beginning there was always something. Loincloth, they used animal fur. I think it's just progressed over the years. It's always probably been a thought to keep your genitals warm, if anything, you would think, or protected from the animals, the ants, the flies. If we want to get down to the basics of what human nature, how they would have come about this, probably that. But yeah, how did it progress into the threads that I'm wearing now?
Even more so, though. Even more so. Just the basic, who invented clothes? Here we go. You were on the right track.
I'm sure I had couple points.
The history of clothing and textiles traces back to ancient times, with evidence of people cleaning their teeth back to ancient Egypt. Okay, so somewhere around ancient Egypt, we're like, we got to start focusing on our teeth.
Yeah, they probably were losing them back then, so they had to, right?
I don't know. Pyramids were built before Egypt.
I guess it's the softer the food that you eat, maybe the less sugar. I don't know. Maybe they weren't gnawing on
Yeah.
animals and stuff,
Yeah.
chewing the shit out of their teeth.
The wearing of clothing is exclusively a human characteristic and is a feature of most human societies. And I'm like, that's false.
Yeah,
Ish.
it seems like a
I mean, we
stretch.
just
If
know
anything,
that
right?
for sure on Earth. There could be a planet out there where animals wear clothing and humans have fur, or humanoids, we would say. We just don't know. There's a multitude of possibilities. For us to just say that as a definitive seems weird. But anywho, there's always been some disagreement among scientists, of course, on when humans began wearing clothes. But studies involving the evolution of body lice
Oh god.
suggest it started somewhere around 170,000 years ago.
Oh, so them critters have been around forever.
Okay, so we were wearing clothes 170,000 years ago, but didn't start cutting our fucking nails until around 8th century BC.
But maybe is it a genetic change or alteration that our nails, maybe the collagen that we're growing them so much faster now? Maybe back then they used them more, like dogs' claws. Some people don't have to cut their dog's nails. They don't have to be groomed, all this shit. Maybe just over time we became hairy beasts and we need to. What if people were naked back then? Do we even know that they were like super hairy cave dudes? Or maybe possibly they were naked, chiseled gods. They could have been like, they could have been ripped for all we know, right? Are we just going off the bone structure here?
I'm
They were
not.
shorter.
Yeah, so I'm not.
I
I'm
think you
not.
can get that from that, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Like fat people got fat bones.
the wax recreations in like the Museum of History and whatnot. I'm pretty sure those are recreated to an exact-ish point
I'm assuming there's like
via
a percentage they can get within.
Yeah.
Well, fat people have fat bones.
Yeah, big bones, big bones, big bones.
Big boned. Yeah, that's where the
Yeah.
term comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anthropologists believe that animal skins and vegetation were adapted into coverings as protection from cold, heat, and rain, especially as humans migrated to new climates.
I'm disappointed that bugs weren't in there because those are the ones that probably would get me the most.
Right.
Bugs and dirt, sand.
Textile history is almost as old as human civilization, and as time has passed, the history of textiles has been more enriched. It's not completely certain who invented clothes, but anthropologists estimates that it was somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 years ago. The first clothes were made from natural elements such as animal skin, fur, grass, leaves, bone, and shells. How the frank were we making clothes 500,000 years ago, but we only started clipping our damn nails around 8th century BC, bro?
Right? Do you want to
There's
know?
got to be something going on here, man.
Do you want to know something even crazier than that? I heard this on Rogan a long time ago. One of those scientists came on and he goes, "So, Joe, what do you think the oldest engineered product in the history of mankind is?" And Joe goes, "I don't know. What's something that we produced that we gave to other people back then, like a long time ago?" I don't remember the date that he gave, but he said it's air. Because back then they would go in the water to hunt or to fish, and they would take leaves and they would trap oxygen in them like a balloon. And they figured this out and they would take it and suck it in.
Banana
Yeah.
leaves with the wax coating on them there would you could if you you could
Yeah.
yeah,
It's crazy. They figured
absolutely.
that out. They
Well,
think
that's like
that,
we talked when we had the caveman, when we were talking about the caveman. It was like, how did they even know to put the food on the fire? It had to have been at some point an accident,
well,
right?
here's the other.
You're thinking somebody was walking by and found something in the fire and picked it up. Because if you just put dough right in a campfire on the coals, A
Yeah.
little bit of ash that ends up sticking to the outside of that dough tastes just like flour.
You
So,
can eat it.
yeah, so
That's
your most
that's
basic
the
thing
kind
that
of
you
thing
would have
for.
back then would have been okay. So you would have been, it's just,
You'd have been fine. We didn't have disease like we do. We had this
Mm.
crazy disease that affects everybody now.
The
Um,
thing that blows my mind, dude, is at what point did somebody's mind go, yo, this needs something a little extra, and starts finding these spices, right? At what
maybe
point
it
did
was
somebody just wake up and go, man, that's what's so amazing about the human evolution through time.
adaptation. Adaptation. And here's the other thing though. What
Crazy.
maybe temperature slowly rose, so they had to get more and more clothes.
Mhm.
The animals could
That's
use
what
it.
it says too. Definitely, as you're exploring this. But the thing that blows, okay, so if you look at the genealogy and whatnot, like everything came from the the most southern tip of Africa. Everything
Yeah,
came from
everything was Pangea, it was just big
there
smushed
was
into
a
Africa. Yeah.
right, there was a bunch of different DNA trees, we'll say, because I just can't think of the actual name right now. But ultimately, one one. There was, I think there was eight and one humanoid one. So the humanoid one, the other seven,
Yeah.
they've got a bunch of random ass names, right? Yeah, science. But the female won first at about, don't quote me on the exact numbers here, but about 255,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So the human female we know today was 255,000 years old, and the human male we know today is like 175,000 years old, right? They were making clothes before the humanoid was even alone.
Yeah.
How do we not know more about this? We're about to, actually. That was something
We
we
don't
talked
know how
about
many
on one.
years it took them to get to that point
Well,
before that.
the
So
thing is that we're only like 10,000 ish, 10 to 15,000 years back in our excavations of planet Earth, dude. Earth, there's so much Earth, it's crazy.
and I thought carbon dating was its accuracy gets worse the more years they say it goes out. And like when they say something's a billion years old, they could be off by 5,000%. It could be 5,000 years old. They don't even know because the carbon dating can only be accurate up to 20,000 years or
Well,
something.
the other thing with that too, to me
I mean,
though,
that's what I've
I agree
heard.
with you. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, and I'm not saying that what you're saying isn't real.
No,
I'm actually agreeing with it,
no,
and
I'm agreeing with you too. We can't see past that. So, like you said,
I
the
believe
shit
we
that we're
can.
finding could be older
But
than
I
what
believe,
you.
but I believe we can. See, there was this thing in science, honestly, before up until 2020, if it was like 1800 and further back, was considered primitive. So the people who built the pyramids, and to science, the people
Yeah,
who, because there was this thought process that if we can't do it today, they couldn't do it yesterday.
they still believe
And
that.
yes, but no, because they've acknowledged the navigator, right? Which again, if you haven't looked up the navigator out there, you should look up the navigator. It's a crazy thing. Einstein loved the navigator. So there's that. But I believe with everything inside of me that it was in the science society's best interest up until these recent years that if something looked like it was pre 5000 BC, it can't be real
Yeah,
because time started to science around Frank. When was Jesus born?
Charles. That's why the giants
Two-
disappear when they find them.
2000.
So,
That's in the story of Viracocha
well,
also.
that's in the story of the Book of
But
Eden.
Frank, when was Jesus born? 3,000,
Yes, it was.
years. It was 2,999 to 3,600
Yes, we
years ago.
talked about this earlier before.
Right. But
It was
the
Noah and the
Buddhist
Great
calendar and
Flood.
whatnot,
Yeah, yes.
that's 5,200 some now. But regardless, anyways, to science, nothing could have possibly been that far. So if carbon dating, the most accurate thing,
We have, yeah.
if it conveniently hits a certain point in time and then becomes less relevant, that's just convenient to me, right? And I don't believe in or coincidence. Also, I don't believe in that type of a coincidence.
You want to know something even crazier? A guy and I that I work with, we're talking about this. They're working on something. I don't know if it's part of CERN or if it's the Swiss or something. They're breaking apart protons and neutrons. They do this all the time. They do this with the Hadron Collider. They're looking for the God particle, all
Oh, the
that stuff.
hydrogen peroxide collider? Yeah.
Yeah, the hydrogen peroxide collider. Anyway,
Yeah.
they're talking about that they'd be able to date based off of when these two separated. And the amount of time that it took them to separate was also the amount of time that they were in like voided space, getting from the beginning of where they became what they are. And it's crazy stuff. Anyway, it was on Rogan too, and they were talking about
Right.
this. And he goes, it would be 1,000 times more accurate than carbon dating, but obviously they can only do small cell things right now. If it was a larger thing, like a DNA strain cell is huge. We don't realize it. There's so much information in DNA. It's
The
unbelievable.
first mammoths
Are they? Do they
since
clone
the
them bastards?
extinction, they've done it even better.
They just made them.
They're about to be born December this year.
What are they
From
being born
Indian
with?
elephants.
Elephants.
They're
Those are the
being
biggest ones
spliced
in the
with
world, right?
with Indian elephants. Yeah, so they're seeing what it's going to be like to reintroduce extreme size fauna back into the environment to try and help with the carbon footprint, more or less. Because when the Earth was first created, we had already talked about this before, the atmosphere was much,
Right.
much different. So these large
Sure,
fauna
oxygen. Yes, the
were
oxygen levels were like
yeah,
twice as high.
were
2 or 3
needed. So yeah, we'll see if they even survive. But
Here's
I
the
mean,
thing. What other animal would they bring back that you just be like, fuck that?
the
Fuck that.
armadillo.
The armadillo.
The big-ass armadillo.
What about the
Yeah.
cave bear or the
Okay.
saber-toothed tiger?
This isn't Jurassic World.
No, the cave bear and the saber-toothed tiger are real.
I'm saying this isn't Jurassic World. This isn't
No.
I know they're
Those are
real, but in Jurassic
animals.
World, they meant to get bigger, better, stronger.
I
Why
know,
would
but-
you bring back a massive carnivore in today's world?
No, I'm not saying you should. I'm saying which one would you be like, fuck that? Don't do that. That's a bad idea.
No, that's anything that eats meat, bro.
Anything
Anything
that
that
eats meat?
fucking eats meat. Yes, anything. Like,
Could you
no.
imagine all right, come on, let's just get funny for a minute here.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
you
yeah.
said Jurassic World. What kind of egg would they have to splice? Because in the movie they spliced it with like frog DNA and stuff. Would you have to use like an ostrich egg for a dinosaur?
Fuck, I'm not signing up for that.
They would be hatching out of they'd be hatching out of a fucking ostrich egg.
Fucking
Like a
raptor,
little
I don't
baby
know,
T-Rex
chicken
come out
eggs
of-
and shit. Probably a damn chicken egg.
We come right after you like that. The fucking like a T-Rex or a freaking raptor.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be so fucked if that thing came after you.
I'm guessing the egg looks just like a chicken egg, only a little bigger.
No, I'm just saying in the movie they made it weird like that, and I was like, I guess because it was frog eggs they used or frog DNA. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. What would you use for a T-Rex? You'd have to use a big ass ostrich egg. There's no freaking way.
I'm thinking that
Did they even hatch eggs?
know,
We don't even know. We don't even know. They hid
don't
this shit from us too.
we don't even know what the damn fucking T-Rex
We don't even know
actually
what they look
sounded
like.
like, dude.
No, they were saying something like, "What if it
Turns
barked
out
like
the
a,
T-Rex probably had a buttload of feathers.
yeah? What if it barked like a dog? We don't even know.
So I can tell you one thing. I can tell
You
you
don't
one
think
thing.
it would bark like a dog? You
The
don't think it would-
size of its fucking voice box would probably not sound like a
All right,
dog.
all right. We'll get into a funny thing with the whole. I got into this with the Bigfoot guys, Charles. But you also wouldn't expect a freaking Bigfoot to sound like whoop, 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 oh, woo. To sound like a freaking monkey, like a freaking crazy ass ape.
Yeah.
Come on, you'd expect that thing to sound like a monster.
I don't know, man. I would expect a big ass gorilla to sound like a big ass gorilla.
Now, yeah, but every Bigfoot show I ever watched, they're always calling for it with knocks and like shit like that.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. You know what else those noises do really well? They ensure that predators stay pretty far away. So that's fantastic. I know. I want to believe that Bigfoot's real.
You want
I
to go on a
do.
Bigfoot? Let's go. Let's take the podcast on a Bigfoot hunt. We got to find some Bigfoot researchers first, and then we want them to take us on a hunt with them. I'll be a believer when I see some evidence myself, like you said.
Yeah, I used to go camping all the time. That just sounds like that's what that would be.
Yeah.
I want to go to a big ass fucking telescope, dude.
That's the thing. You're not expecting for this shit to
Well,
happen.
I want to go in a submarine. I just
A sub?
Yeah.
We need to get a hold of our buddy Steve. Maybe he can hook us up in a sub.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Even a tour of one. Can we go see one, Steve?
We could go see one. We could go
I think
see a
we
World
would.
War II one. There's one right here in Wisconsin. They used to be
That
made. The World War
deactivated for service. Yeah.
Yeah, the World War II subs used to be made here in Wisconsin, but somewhere out there.
Yeah.
The name is passing me up, but yeah, that sub was over in the good old enemy seas. Mentioning that too, I was watching a video the other day of a World War II gentleman on the D-Day beach. He picked up the sand and he was like, "Last time I was here, there was way more blood in this sand." And throws the sand out.
Damn.
Like,
that's cold as fuck, dude. Jesus.
I was like, hell yeah, sir. All right.
Yeah.
Probably not. No, probably wasn't an officer though. Dude used to work for a living. But yeah, so that was interesting to me, man. You do the clothes 500,000 years ago, but fingernail clippers and toothbrushes, and tune in next week for the invention of deodorant, eau de parfum, shampoo. Yeah.
We'll just take one of the craziest headlines ever. Just find some crazy company that is still around, that was like made back in the day, and try to justify why it's still around, even though it has no use. Like rubber bands.
Tempting before looking absolutely anything up and knowing the most bought / stolen item in the world.
I already know this one.
What is it?
It's condoms, isn't it? Or tampons? It's one or the other.
Jesus Christ, dude. It's the Bible.
The Bible is the most stolen thing? I thought it was
big lighter. The lighter is climbing up the list, but writing utensil is number.
Where did Jimmys and tampons get on that list? Are they at least in the top 10?
I don't know, man. I've only known.
You didn't get that far. You didn't click it. You didn't click on the next page.
No, man. No,
I thought these would be facts. I didn't think you'd get all red from that one. I thought maybe you'd find that fact.
No, I'm just laughing, dude. That's funny as shit. What's funny about it?
It's funny.
Oh, man.
About
I
it
lost oxygen in my blood. It was so funny. What's funny about that? Here I am, and I'm like,
I think it was funny because you're about to basically about to preach to me, and then I said Jimmy's and freaking tampons.
Fuck, dude. Jesus.
I think you were expecting me to say something like bubble gum or booze or something.
Honestly, I thought you were going to say the Bic lighter. It's crazy because you think like the writing utensil in the Bible, they've been around for a couple thousand years. The fucking lighter's been around for.
But is it going per capita? Because hell, in 1 year.
Condoms aren't old, man.
No, but you said the Bible, and I was like, yeah, but you think 1 year of all the stores we have nowadays, like how much shit gets stolen, you think it's got to be per capita. But you're like, if that many Bibles were stolen, just imagine how many churches had to replace them. I think that's an even crazier fact.
Absolutely. Which leads me to what I think the oldest living company was probably going to be a Bible publishing company.
Some kind of illustrator, or not illustration company, but publishing company for sure.
Yeah, it's probably going to be somewhere along the lines of books. But yeah, the invention of the condom is not attributed to a single person or date. Condoms have been used for over 100 years,
Charles,
before the 17th century.
That is disturbing. That they don't have any. They don't know who made the damn thing.
As I'm saying, when they were popularized, Jesus, I hate that word, in England by King Charles II.
Wasn't that when he was putting lambskin over his dinger?
Yeah. The modern condom we know today, made of latex rubber, was invented by a Mr. Charles Goodyear in the 19th century. He used vulcanization, a process that turns rubber into flexible shapes.
Oh, for God's sakes, he was making himself his own dick every time he was putting a sleeve over his old Johnny. Good God, dude. And it probably was still hot.
Hold on, here we go.
How the
so
fuck
that's it says 16th century disease outbreaks.
Disease outbreaks. Syphilis has got to be up there then.
Yeah, the 16th century they ranged from syphilis and the English sweat, a viral disease that affected largely Britain. To others, more exotic.
Because
the initial, what was the initial assumption of doctors regarding new epidemic diseases in the 17th century? Yeah, so basically everyone was getting all these. That's crazy to me too. So from like the 8th century until what we'll probably say about the 13th, 14th century, people just be fucking without diseases, without nothing. They're just like
probably not making babies. Like maybe they were too dumb to be fertile back then. I don't know.
Nah, they be making babies.
They were making
the human race had to for us to get where the fucking human race had to continue.
Not at the same rate. Not at the same rate as we are now. Now it's promiscuous. It's back then. It was like there wasn't whorehouses everywhere. Now there's
the birth rate today is lower than it's been in a century.
The birth rate, yes, but the amount of people has never been higher that we know of, allegedly. Maybe.
Wow, that's argued too.
I don't know.
There's been so many people.
The
amount of people that have been on our timeline, shoulder to shoulder, could fit inside this state of Texas, I think. I swear to God, dude. Shoulder to shoulder. If every single human that has walked on planet Earth that we estimate on our timeline today stood shoulder to shoulder, you wouldn't get out of Texas.
No, we need a scientist or a biologist or some kind of human.
I tell you where I'm getting a lot of this information from is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, Tyson. Yeah, his
Titan. Yeah,
his podcast. Neil's podcast. I get a lot of Star Talk. Yeah, I get a lot of this shit from them.
They do a lot of astrophysics. I didn't know they have a small hadron collider at Madison. A particle.
The hydrogen peroxide collider. That's like hydrogen peroxide collider.
Like a small one for gathering like neutrons or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a hold of the university. Maybe they'll allow us to get one of their astrophysicists on here. Like their physics.
Let's just shoot out an email, more or less.
Yeah,
you shoot an email right to the department.
We've always said this. We can be cordial and we can be polite.
The asking questions is easy. It's finding the questions with the good answers that's fun.
And I want you to explain it to me like I'm a small child, because I don't know anything about that stuff. I just listen to it and it blows my mind. Like it explodes.
That's what I'm saying. The podcast with Neil and his buddy there.
Yeah.
I think it's called Star Talk. Like like more or less when I've explained what I think string theory is a few times on this podcast. Right. Don't get me wrong. I have no damn idea or pretend to. I just have a small understanding on what the basic theory of string theory is.
If you explain it to me, like you said, if you explain it to me on a line, and
it's everything in its basic design is a loop, is a string, and it vibrates, and that vibration is what you are.
Yeah, right? Resonation. You're resonating.
Yeah. But anyway, that was actually one of the coolest things I found on there. There's another one too with this old scientist called the Midnight Science Club. It's cool as shit too. That's fun.
That almost sounds like the Stranger Things, like that. The old.
He just does a bunch of really, I don't want to say basic or at-home science tricks, but he does a really good job explaining science to, I would say, 14 to 22-year-olds, and then also 7 to 13-year-olds.
Did you see that battle cannon that I sent you? With the firecracker?
Yeah.
Dude, let's make those. Let's make those.
There's a reason, even through all of my military life, I still have all 5 fingers.
Yeah, we're not going to lose a finger making that.
That's not my lane. Maybe. Who knows?
We might
interesting fact, right?
Yeah.
The beam of light or something, right? Let's say somewhere in space, this explosion happens, and then you end up seeing it on your telescope, right? From the explosion to the telescope, we know that distance is years away.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do this thing called light years. Turns out, to that particle, it was an instant. The explosion happened, and then boom, it was in your telescope. To that fucking particle.
There was another one about the light that you see like glimmering off a star. The amount of energy it takes for it to get reflected back to Earth is enough to like power a city for 3 months or something.
Yeah.
It gives off that
There's
much energy. or
there's a
expels
random
like that.
thing
Yeah,
out there in the investor world too about the potential of people mining gold from asteroids much sooner rather than later.
because if it's
Crazy.
something that they can ship up, yeah, but how are they going to get past the firmament? There's just water up there. It's going to take a submarine upstairs. This
What?
comes from Clint. He said it's water up there, Charles. That's why it rains. You never heard Clint say that when he was on the podcast last time? How are you going to get past the firmament? It's water up there, he said. You've never heard
Probably didn't acknowledge it so
no,
much
no, no.
that y'all stopped talking
Oh,
about it.
that's a
No.
theory. That's a theory you have to look into. Look into the firmament theory where it's water. Yeah. Yeah. It's for real. They're saying we've never been past it. Like it's 25 miles up there or some shit. That's as far as satellites can go, they say. Yeah, trust me, I'm just the one. I'm just saying what I heard.
Listen. If you want a
I'm just saying what I heard.
conspiracy theory about up there, I got one for you. How the hell do you make a satellite out of basically the same thing a vehicle's made, but you never got to bring the satellite in for fucking maintenance, but you got to bring a vehicle in for maintenance all the time? And you hear this theory about, oh, there's the fucking no resistance or anything. So for one, if there was water up there, the satellites would be fucked. There'd be a buttload of resistance. You would have to replace or repair those satellites all the time. So there goes your water theory. The amount of speed that the thing has to go at and the math that it takes for a spaceship to go from A to B tells you there's no water up there.
Charles,
right? That's like the flat earthers.
I'm
Okay.
just telling you
The
that
flat earthers and the water people are now in the same damn boat.
there is seriously this theory
It's
out
so
there where
crazy.
they believe that it's water above
So
the firmament.
listen, 40% of people polled thought fucking chocolate milk came from brown cows. So I don't have
Yeah,
a whole lot.
we know one. Mandy and I know one. We know one.
All righty.
yeah,
So that's
living nice.
that's the strange and interesting. That's the strange and interesting. I see on the ticker down there.
Yeah,
you
have you
yourself.
heard
You yourself have some news. So let's throw this out on the
Have you?
table.
All right, we'll start off with Jim Harbaugh news because obviously we found out he was named the head coach of the LA Chargers, and now it is official that Michigan announced that Sharon Moore is now the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines with a $500,000 base salary, 5-year bonus, 5 years guaranteed, $500,000 upgrade every season, $500K for the championship or conference championship, $1 million for the national. Same bonuses that Harbaugh got, but a much, much cheaper deal than what Harbaugh was going to get.
It's all right.
Unbelievable.
Harbaugh was still making what, 7-8 million?
No, I think 8 million is what he had. He was going to make 12.
Yeah.
It was a $100 million deal for 10, but that was for 10 years. By the end of this, they said that he's going to make maybe 20. 25 at most. He's going to make a quarter of what they're going to give Harbaugh, but for half the time.
Awesome.
So he's basically making a quarter of the money. But anyway, that's not the Harbaugh news. Have you ever heard of a 97 Jim Harbaugh breaking Jim Kelly's nose or face? And he also broke his hand.
Was this at a practice?
No, let me tell you the story. This is fantastic. If you've never heard this before.
No.
All right. In 97, Jim Harbaugh was involved in a tussle that ended sidelining him for a month. Harbaugh's situation was slightly different than Alex Smith, or Geno Smith's jaw got broke by Eminem Kapali earlier in the year, but they brought this up. So the situation started in October 97 when Bills quarterback Jim Kelly had just retired from the NFL. He was on a late show with the Bills, like a news thing, and he called Harbaugh a baby. He said, "You're a little bitch, you're a baby, you're soft." So the next game back that Jim Kelly had, guess what game it was? It was the Colts game. So he made some comments. He said, he fakes injuries, he's soft, he's a bitch. He was scheduled to announce the game. That game back was the Colts game. The baby comment was pissing him off. So he crashed the NBC production meeting and he just went wailing away on Jim Kelly's face and he broke his wrist and he was out for a month. They missed the playoffs that season. They had a terrible season. They ended up that was the next year they ended up drafting Peyton Manning. So it's the reason they got to draft Peyton Manning is because Harbaugh's temper got the best of him. He went and beat the shit out of Jim Kelly, and then they ended up drafting Peyton Manning. Had Harbaugh probably played for those 4 games, they were playing okay. They might have made the playoffs. They might have never drafted Peyton Manning. That's a crazy story.
They wouldn't have gotten into position to draft him.
Yeah, I think one or 2 wins would have.
Talk about the ultimate anger life lesson, though.
Yeah.
Your career was over after that.
All right.
All because you fucking Marty Mc.
Did you see all the injury reports going on down there? A lot of those are coming from you. The only one that I was actually curious about was the fact that they didn't activate Ertz for the Lions. He's out. They feel they're good at the tight end position. They don't need him. I agree. They probably don't need him. What's he going to do? He'll be a decoy, if anything, because Laporta is definitely plenty good enough to be out there.
But the crazy thing, too, right?
Yeah.
The offensive or the rookie of the year, whatnot, came out and the finalists came out. How did we go all season without talking about Jahmyr Gibbs or damn Laporta?
Laporta probably more so than Gibbs. I think Laporta had.
Well, yeah, definitely Laporta. Does Laporta win it?
I don't know. Is he like is he number
Laporta broke a bunch of rookie tight end records, just like Puka did.
Yeah, but I don't think he was near the production.
Catches, yards, touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know. They would probably never give it to a tight end. Shannon Sharp was probably the closest.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
That's
unless it's a mini MVP award, it should go to Puka or Laporta. But yeah, keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off. It was just an interesting thought I had.
No, that was it. That was it. The Ertz one is the only one that's really an issue.
Yeah, Debo's 100%, no limitations, nothing.
The one we really want to get into is the former LSU player, Keyshawn Butte, arrested on sports betting gambling charges. Basically, it sounds like the dude was running a sports betting racket in his dorm room. Like he had to have been taking bets for other people. Where does the dude come up with $175K?
This is pre-NIL also, right?
I believe 2000 or 2019. This is pre-NIL, 100%.
So how's a pre-NIL college student getting enough money to make 8,900 bets?
Not only 8,900 bets, 100. He dumped in 175 grand. It looks like in a very short period of time. I've been trying to get my hands on his deposits because I think that tells a bigger story than his cash outs, obviously. Yeah. But people are talking about, is he possibly the best sports gambler of all time? And someone says, he ain't got shit on Jordan. Somebody's like, dude, Jordan lost millions. What are you talking about? He was a terrible gambler.
I don't know who has lost more money. Are you ready for this?
Barkley?
Who do you think has lost more money? Michael Jordan or Phil Mickelson?
I heard Mickelson's really bad.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
You asked Mickelson, and he says today, I love him, man. Here's the thing. If I'm making millies, you bet your ass a third of my year is in Vegas. I don't care. A third, my wife will be okay with it. I know she will. When I'm making millies, a third of my life is in Vegas.
Yeah. Did you happen to see how much he cashed out over the year? 537,000. That's what they're saying. You see the best sports gambler football player of all time, or he had inside information.
I did not see that he cashed out
500 and some grand. Yeah, I think that's how he got caught, honestly. And the fact his usernames were like Keyshawn Butte 87 or 07. One of them was 07. What was his number at LSU? 7. You dumb shit. Are you that stupid?
Yes.
You didn't even try to cover his tracks, dude.
For one, you're gambling.
Yeah.
You're gambling on a projected career path to the NFL. Yeah, you're not smart.
The only thing that he used a false identity for was like his PayPal account or something. He put it in like a friend's name, but he put it under some goofy name. Yeah. So how they did that, I have no idea. They must have went
Chinese, red hair, 6 fingers, glasses.
Who knows? I'm sure you could fake a PayPal account pretty easy with those prepaid debit cards somehow.
No, that actually takes, you need to be recognized as an actual
See, this is where it's going
United
to get,
States civilian,
yeah. See, this is where it's going to get dicey because this dude's facing felony charges because he was underage, and they're calling it fraud because of how much money he bet on, how much
Well,
money
yeah,
he won.
absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
he,
But guess
he-
what gets him less time?
I'll-
Every individual name you put on a list,
we're going to give you 2 years off of.
he's about to 6'9" this, bro. He's about to 6'9" this. He's
Yeah,
about to 6'9" all you players out there
That's
who went
what I'm
who went
telling
there
you.
gambling.
And hey, and guess what? Guess
Was it?
who was one of his college buddies, his college roommates back in 2021 when he was a freshman or a sophomore? No, he was a freshman back in 2020. Guess who was one of Keyshawn Bootie's? He was a junior. He came out in the draft. He plays for the Minnesota Vikings.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. What if he implicates Justin Jefferson? Apparently, he spent a lot of time in his dorm room, and they were. I told you I looked into this, dude. I told you I did
I
my
believe
research.
you. Listen, I believe you. I
Like,
believe you. I believe you.
this is gonna get crazier and crazier unless somebody pays a bunch of money to shut him up, because this could potentially. All these guys are underage. You have to be 21 to gamble in Louisiana, and they're really strict on it. They're one of the states that's super strict on gambling. So this could potentially. They're all underage. He was 20, or he might have been. Maybe I'll have to look into it if he was 21. If he was 20 years old too when this went down, they're both getting screwed. And how much of that money's his? I think
Doesn't
this.
matter.
I know. No. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying if your name's implicated to it, it doesn't matter if it's $1 or 1,000 or 100,000. You're
Well,
you're a
his
part
name
of
will
it.
be in trouble, like out there, but it's
Yeah.
different between fine and probably jail time. But yeah, this dude's about ready to freaking squeal. So I'm just interested to see whose name comes.
That's the thing is.
There's not a judge out there to
Yeah, well
believe
done, Leroy.
Charles, there's not going to be a judge out there that's going to believe that you made 23 bets a day for 370 some days straight.
Yeah.
And you won all this money. 400 you cashed out almost $400,000 up, and they're not going to look into your computer, look into your phone.
It's pre-nil. That's the key here. It's pre-nil. If it wasn't pre-nil and the dude was in like Texas A&M, I would be like, I don't know, man. It could have been his own money. I know people who gamble like that.
Yeah, but even then, if it was NIL money, they're going to look into who deposited that money.
Sure.
What if they deposited that money for him on behalf of NIL? And he's underage. Now they're implicated. This could, like I said, this could get really
the kicker, regardless, it was him giving somebody else money to bet on his behalf.
For sure. It's 1,000%. I just want to know what websites he was using, because I can't find, there's not a lot of information on that. You can't, obviously we're going to see some FanDuel. There's going to be some other stuff, but they have to be, he might've flew out to Vegas and put some sports bets down on the machines too, for all we know. You think he did everything?
What's the Native American culture like down in Louisiana?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I would think.
Screw them out of $400,000. I'm sure they're not going to be too happy about it.
And that's if it ends up coming down to that if it ends up being this huge sports ring where people were throwing themselves or the specific game to make parlays hit. But parlays didn't really get big until sports gambling became something much more than Vegas and a few casinos.
This is the crazy thing. This is the other thing that I found out. Jail records indicate whether or not he had an attorney present at the time. He could not speak on his own behalf. He pleaded the fifth. Computer fraud is punishable by a fine of up to $10,000 and a prison term up to 5 years or less. Illegal gambling carries maximum penalties of $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. So these are like per bet. This dude bet 89,000 times. He's
8,900 or 89,000?
Well, okay, 8,900. I'm sorry, 89,000. I was looking at the 10,000. My brain was just going.
I was like, God damn,
but anyway, it's got to be per offense. So every time you bet, it's got to be an offense.
Ain't no one and their mother writing an 8,500 count report. It's probably just it's the excessive nature of it
You
would
can't
have.
claim accident, is what I mean.
Well, no,
Basically,
well, right. You would get the maximum. You're looking at the maximum.
you're gonna get, what do they call it? If you're drunk, it's a habitual offender.
But I mean,
Same deal
what they
for
could
convict.
possibly do would be
Give them a deal, obviously.
for each individual he aided,
Yeah.
he would stuff like that.
Yeah, where there be a separate case even for each one to bring a case against him for being in, I don't know, aiding and abetting. I don't know what the hell is going
Aiding
on
and
here.
abetting, yeah.
Aiding and abetting. We're gonna see some crazy shit come out about this in the next 3 months. It's gonna be nuts. I'm looking forward to it
Well,
because,
especially if it's got Jefferson in the mix.
oh yeah,
It'll be crazy
well,
interesting.
he's only gonna be in the mix if he says he's in the mix because they were boys back home. I seen lots of videos of them celebrating together on the sidelines, and there was a lot of people commenting below saying, "Yeah, dude, this guy, they rolled together at LSU.
Yeah.
They rolled together. Don't act like that was a tight wide receivers room. They rolled together." Yeah, it
Well,
could be.
as long as they didn't vanilla ice their first couple of years, should be able
Yeah,
to go to prison for a few years and be fine when you get out. Open up a used car lot.
just saying that's a hell of a way to spend your NIL money.
If this all happened pre-NIL, though.
Wow, yeah, but we know what that money was. It was preemptive, but
I know. I don't give a damn where the money came from. Who cares how he got it and what he used it on? Or my point is that if this is pre-NIL, how does anybody have 8,900 bets worth of money?
yeah,
Unless it's multiple people, unless it's an avenue stream of big groups of people. You know what I mean?
yeah, it
You
looks.
ain't betting $100,000 without NIL money.
No, it looked like NIL money was, it's NIL money started in 2021.
Okay, so if this was 2019, this was so basically what I'm getting at is that you can connect the dots that it wasn't one person, that it was multiple people. I'm trying to agree with you that
I'm trying
the
to find out when it
possibility of
plays.
the possibility of Jefferson jumping down is probably
Okay,
pretty
well,
great.
okay. It was April 2022 until May 2003.
Till May 2023.
Yeah, so it was it, but that doesn't mean that the money didn't come pre that because he had to get the money at some point. I don't know.
No. This is pretty easy now. NIL money. There was been people making a buttload of money in the NIL world. This you're gonna have this 100 times over again, dude. You're getting kids with fucking tens of thousands of dollars with nothing to do.
Yeah, but not 8,900 bets in a year. That's 23. That's 23
I know.
bets.
I'm trying to figure out where you and I are hitting a fork in the road. I'm agreeing with you that him and other people made bets.
Oh no, yeah, I'm saying he got caught. Yeah, for sure. He's the one that's going to be the one that's going to narc other people out, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. That's why I'm trying to figure out why we're hitting a fork in the road here. It didn't matter. Like the NIL money makes it so if there's not 100 people involved in this scheme, there might be 4 or 5 people involved in this scheme. But yeah, dude, they're making a fuckload of money in this NIL. They're making fucking 30, 40, 50 grand a month, dude. Like they're not getting a one-time $5 check to come play at the school. This is money they're making per month, fucking out the ass, like a paycheck, fucking paying for things in their family. And
he's gonna squeal though. That's the kicker, because he's gonna lose all that money. I think he's gonna be like, shit, yeah. If I ever want to see another paycheck in the NFL, I'm gonna squeal.
I don't know. I don't know if you'll even have that opportunity.
Why wouldn't you have that opportunity? The guy for Cal.
I mean, the entire world, half of the Lions offense was fucking gone beginning of the year for betting on other sports inside the facility. This dude was betting on football.
Yeah.
You can't bet on football in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Calvin Ridley came back though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You bet 50 grand.
Okay, then nothing will happen to him. What
No, I don't know.
what
He
do you
got
want
some-
here?
Oh,
What
he
do you
got
want here?
no. You said he's never going to play in the NFL again. I was like, I don't think that's going to be the case.
If you're talking about a 3 to 5 year prison sentence, are we talking Plexico Burris here? Who the fuck comes back to the NFL after being in prison for 5 years?
Oh, I'm saying if they let him off.
Yeah,
We've
well,
seen
yeah.
worse. We've seen players get away with worse.
If he gets in no trouble at all, of course he's coming back to the NFL.
I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying that it's a possibility that if he does get off, that they're going to let him back in the NFL. I didn't say he was coming back to the NFL. I said, would they let him back in the NFL?
Yes. Yes. If all of these charges got dropped, why wouldn't he be?
Well, we know they're not going to get dropped. I'm just saying I wouldn't. I'm saying I personally wouldn't take him back. But
yeah, not only that, you'll be you'll be in a fucking cell for 4 or 5 years. You ain't gonna put your body back in shape, and ain't no organization's gonna be picking you up. 100% yes. 100%.
yeah, I just want to see who he implicates. That's why I said I'm anxious to see who's coming out with this.
To see if he's a tattletale or not.
Yeah, if he's gonna narc out, is he gonna put?
But there's not gonna be any. He'll end up having fines and shit, but he's not going to have to pay back the 500,000. He's not going to have to pay back his NFL checks. We're talking about the top 10% in financial population. This dude will be fine regardless of what like I said. He's going to open up a used car salesman, open up a used car lot if all else fails. I think you get a buttload of those. Country music stars open up restaurants and
failed
restaurants and your sports people who used to be big open up, what is it, health and wellness centers,
Charles, how
motivational speaking or used car lots.
Just saying, I watched a lot of mystery documentary, but how many of those do you think that those are to wash dirty money? Those, I'm just saying, these failed businesses, they try to like start back up.
Dude, do you know that they make $70,000 televisions
allegedly?
I think no, they anyways,
no,
Wayfair.
I just threw it in there for what I was whispering under my breath when you hear the audio.
But anyways, they make like 1,100 of these $70,000 TVs a year.
Yeah, for people that are nuts. Yeah, they got shit way too much.
They make them because there's 1,001 people out there with money able to buy these $70,000 TVs. Dude, there's so much damn money out in the world. It's really hard to grasp at times for most people, like just how basic it is to jump in a plane and disappear for 7 days.
Yeah, you want to put that in an even crazier perspective. All the gold that's ever been mined in the world could fit on a football field. 5 feet high. Yeah, because it's so dense that it doesn't look like a lot, but it's actually 150,000 kilotons, 154,000 kilotons. But because gold's so dense, it's going to look like basically it would be like a small pyramid in Egypt full of gold. It's still really big. It's because
one of the questions that's always got me is like, where's all that Egypt gold?
Yeah, where did it go? I think it buried that shit.
Or most of it was raided and sold on the black market.
Mud flood.
Mud flood.
We get on this. We got to talk about that one of these days.
The good old mud flood.
We did with Clinty boy there, but I don't know.
I'm shocked he hadn't heard about the mud flood.
Really, I can't.
He had a lot to look into after that episode, between the mud flood and the Navigator. And
he sends me a lot of weird stuff sometimes, but I love the guy. He sends me some stuff that I laugh, but
it's one of the things we do. Hell, we went in on fingernail clippers and we found out people have been wearing clothes for over 500,000 years.
Yeah, we found out that Bigfoot, the same call Bigfoot makes, is also the same sound to warn predators to get the fuck out of the way. That was Charles' fun fact of the day.
Yeah. You know what you do when you face a bear? You get big and loud.
You're the one that wants to fight.
Oh, I don't want to fight a bear. I just don't want to die tired. Me versus the bear. This is how it happens.
I cannot get the audio of that when we talked to Brennan, where you said, "Hey, man, I think fighting a polar bear would be cool." And Brennan's fucking polar bear. And you're like, yeah. Those sons of bitches are mean. He's like, I bet. But I'm gonna fight regardless. I'm gonna go down fighting. I'm gonna go down swinging.
That's what I'm saying. Listen,
Take one of the
I don't
jugular.
ever plan on being in a situation. Man, this hat has been so sideways this whole episode.
Yeah.
I don't plan on being in a situation where I got to fight a bear, but if I am, I promise you, one thing will be said at that eulogy. You went down swinging.
That's the thing. There's that Arnold Schwarzenegger quote or something. He goes, yeah. He goes, you knew you were going to lose, didn't you? He goes, yeah, I win it, but I didn't. I had to go down fighting because I didn't want to sound like a pussy.
Hopefully the bear gets the joke when I'm punching it in the face.
Yeah. Just the cups.
Man, bear paws are so massive, dude.
Like, just big.
I'm telling you, the entire situation would be fuck it.
Going down.
I promise you, that's my last thing. Fuck it.
Fuck you, bear. Fuck you, bear.
Look at, I'm hoping I got a stick or something.
Yeah.
Goes to bite down on the stick, you fucking asshole.
Whatever thought of like the Native Americans and stuff to think to ever try to fuck with a bear after they've seen one just like shredding a deer carcass. They're just like a grizzly for the first time.
Man, when you got the confidence, when you got the confidence they have following their ancestral spirits, yeah, I could get that.
Well, I know
some of the first go at it. Yeah,
I get it. They had balls of steel. They were freaking.
It's a different time, man.
Warriors,
it's a different.
Man.
Everything in that wilderness was out to either kill them or needed them to protect it. Nuts.
Crazy shit.
Crazy shit. I've had the pleasure of being in a lot of conversations where a bald, white-headed, 6-foot guy normally doesn't get to be, and I'm excited about that. So, but anywho, anything else on the list?
No, I think we covered her all. We had our picks the other day. We both go the opposite directions when it comes to the Super Bowl. We both got 2 different teams in it. So that's a good thing. Well, hopefully we get one or the other. Hopefully
one of us has got to get one of them right.
Yeah, we can't go. We can't go 4. So.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Hell yeah. But otherwise, thank you all for clicking, for subscribing, for sharing, for commenting. We appreciate you all. And as always, you can find merchandise such as this. Wait, let me go the other way. That, many other things on boysinthewoods906.shop. That's boysinthewoods906.shop. That's boysinthewoods906.shop. Smile more. The world's a much better place with you in it.
Go Lions.